science.
C'est le recteur, scientifique en chef. Bonjour à tous. Students, esteemed guests, it's my pleasure to be the warm-up band for the main event here. We'll talk about, first very briefly, about international initiatives, but I really want to emphasize that the three chief scientists are internationally connected scientists in their original profession and work internationally as chief science advisors. So this is not meant to separate the international from the domestic. I'll be talking about the INSA Manifesto. And let me first tell you what INSA stands for. It's a relatively recent organization, the International Network for Government Science Advice. It was created by Sir Peter Gluckman, who is the Chief Science Advisor to the Prime Minister of New Zealand, and James Wilston, who at the time was at SPRU in Sussex, the really headquarters of world science policy, academically speaking, I think, and is now a professor at Sheffield, formerly at the Royal Society in Britain. You can see on the slide that sponsorship also comes from Canada and the IDRC. So Canada is part of that, and I think Rémi Quirion, who has been science advisor for 7 years, has been very involved in it. Now, the comment period will end today, and actually, because Auckland is 18 hours ahead, it's already over. But you have a chance, I think. It's not a hugely formal group, and if you come home tonight or write tomorrow, you have a very high chance that your comments will be respected. The origin of the project is from the World Science Forum in 2015. That's a biannual meeting, originally created through UNESCO and ICSU. And also actually would like to, I forgot to tell you that INSA belongs to ICSU, the International Council for Science, and Gordon McBain, the president of ICSU, is actually here in the audience a bit, so raise your hand. So we have a lot of expertise in the room. The declaration 2015 had 6 points, and you see here in the middle, number 4, sandwiched science advice for policies as one of the priorities, following 3 key issues for science, basically end of world issues, and at the end you also see investment in science. So the scientific advice is sandwiched between these and has been given as a file to INSA to develop. So the idea was to have science advice strengthened, to have principles and ideas. And it was actually interesting that the Budapest Declaration not only asked the question for what are good principles, but in part gave the answer to that question, which I thought was interesting, because it must happen to science advisors that your answer comes with your question. The file was led by James together with leading scholar Dan Sarovic, who you see to your right, and led to a first draft in 2016 that was discussed at the workshop in Brussels, where I was the rapporteur. After that, the document was further discussed in various places where INSA was active over the last year, and you can also see that the Global Young Academy was asked, and that there has been an online consultation. Out of this information, really, what became very clear is there is not only an issue of geographic context or cultural context, we also have to be always aware of how incredibly complex scientific advice is, that you have very many contexts in which it takes place, and to really wonder to what extent you can write a text that will help you answer all these questions, apply to all these contexts. So what you really have is also a question of who exactly is the audience, what's the exact purpose. And as James, Dan, myself and others discussed this, we came to the view that it's not really advisable to try to write a cookbook for scientific advice, a formula, a curriculum, or even a performance measurement system. But what you can probably do is in one document write in core values some top issues, some priorities, and produce a manifesto that focuses on the important. Out of this came, just first released at the World Science Forum in Jordan, not long ago, a focus on 6 six topics, and James Wilson called these ingredients, of borrowing from a cooking metaphor. The 6 topics are roadmap research, so keep in mind this has a context of the Sustainable Development Goals, the global goals, and the issue there is that there is a need for someone to bring together the direction of science and perhaps also the funding for science, so we don't have a tragedy of the commons and key knowledge is not produced. Second point is responsible innovation, which is a concept quite often pushed now in Europe. It's part of the granting council system, Horizon 2020. It's less known in Canada. There's a group in the United States that is active on responsible innovation. But the basic idea is to get innovators connected to society, and you have more awareness, more diversity, and also more anticipation of innovation. Third point, knowledge brokers. That's a term that may remind some of you the book The Honest Broker by Roger Gilpin. The idea to put some focus on how science advice works, socially how it's organized, the multidisciplinary, transdisciplinarity of the enterprise. Related to that, to build collective intelligence, the view that we have to really work together and that perhaps the next superintelligence is not some AI machine, but actually the global network of knowledge, and that we have to leverage that. To do research into science advice itself as a discipline, the science of science advice, to actually dedicate work and combine the knowledge into a useful body of work. And finally, to have a sense of humility in providing advice. And this is not supposed to be an excuse for chief scientists to not take action or to be less active. What it really means is to be aware of the exact place in the system and to be a team player in a science policy context. So with this, just one note on the launch. The launch of the Manifesto is planned for this summer. That has to be confirmed. So that would be the next step. And with this, I would like to thank you for your attention. Thank you.